Hello and welcome to the Society with Fatma Shaheen at PTV World. Today on our show, we'll be talking about an extremely important, rather very interesting topic, which is that of fashion and how does fashion generally impact the society at large. In this regard, we'll be shedding light upon the fact that when we do talk about Pakistan fashion industry's historical evolution, how do we see it evolving over a different period of time from the 1960s, at that time where Pakistan's fashion industry was known to be a fusion of both the East and the West, and it was also, of course, known for supporting that hippie culture, so to speak, to what it is today. And we'll also, in this regard, be talking about the fact that when we do talk about this evolution, what are the various factors which have actually impacted the same too. Moving on, we'll also be shedding light upon the fact that over a period of time, how have we as a society, grown to see Pakistan's fashion scene be more diverse, it be more inclusive, and definitely more socially cognizant too. Whereas at one point, perhaps fashion designers weren't very open to talking about or raising social issues. Now, at least in the past few years, we have seen that not one, rather quite a few fashion designers have actually dedicated their entire collections to social causes, for example, that of mental health, for example, that of gender inequality in that regard too. Moving on, we'll also be shedding light upon the fact that when we talk about fashion, what responsibility generally lies on the fashion industry so as to be more not only socially responsible but also in this regard to be very cognizant of the burden that it then places on the environment at large. To what extent have we seen Pakistan's fashion industry embrace sustainability at large, and what areas still exist when it comes to making that journey wholesome? That is something upon which we'll be shedding light to. All of this today, that too with an extremely pertinent panel. Let me introduce you to my today's panel. My first panelist for today's show is Ms. Amber Liaquat. She's a lifestyle editor. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Alongside her, I have Ms. Maham Yaqoob. She's a fashion designer and she's also an influencer. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show.
Thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome. And my third panelist for today's show is Ms. Saira Agha. She's a lifestyle journalist. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show. Now, before we start the discussion on today's topic, let's have a look at this brief report.
The fashion industry in Pakistan is embracing sustainability like never before. Designers are championing eco-conscious practices with innovative and environmentally friendly design that are transforming the way we think about clothing. The rise of thrifting is another exciting trend, making sustainable fashion accessible to everyone. Social media influencers are playing a pivotal role in promoting sustainable choices, bridging the gap between modern fashion and environmental awareness. They are inspiring thousands to adopt thoughtful consumption habits. Inclusivity is another bright spot, with the industry embracing body positivity, gender neutral clothing, and cultural diversity. These changes are fostering a more welcoming and empowering space for all. Moreover, the shift away from fast fashion towards eco-friendly alternatives reflects a growing commitment to preserving our planet. Fashion is evolving to not only mirror personal expression but also cultural identity and societal norms, all while protecting our environment. Pakistan's fashion industry is proving that style and sustainability can go hand in hand.
Welcome back from the report. Now, to get the conversation started with you, Ms. Amber, first things first. When we do talk about Pakistan fashion industry's historical evolution, we have seen that over a period of time, it has dramatically evolved. From the time of course, 1960s, this is something which I said in my introduction as well. Pakistan's fashion scene was more known to be that of the hippie era to what it is now. What are the factors you feel have actually led to this change, and what do you feel have been the most iconic moments of this journey per se?
So Fatma, the evolution of fashion is not just restricted to Pakistan, but obviously it's all around the world. Talking about particularly about Pakistan, the fashion and the icons that we have produced over the period of time, even that you have talked about the partition, it's been such a statement in terms of fashion, the icons, the trends.
Right.
Talk about Fatma Jinnah, how she was, I feel that she was a trendsetter. back in the day.
Very
We
true.
till date, we, look up to her for the ghararas that, she used to wear, the dupatta, how she used to carry.
Very true.
You mentioned Benazir Bhutto. She made a fashion statement.
Exactly.
And I think it all came very natural to them. It was not something that they did on purpose. We are very fashion conscious, and it has evolved over the past few years. But I feel that we do go back to the tradition.
That's so true.
Even if we evolve, we want to get something more contemporary or modern, in our silhouettes, in any sense of fashion. But we do go back to our roots, which
That's so
which
true.
is a very timeless elegance, which is very classic. But again, yes, as we evolve with time, so we do add a little bit of modern or contemporary
to it.
twist. Yes. in
Right.
it.
So coming towards you, Maham, it's very important to talk about this from the viewpoint of sustainability too. Now, world over, we see that there is a very proactive shift towards every industry in most of the countries proactively prioritizing sustainability. But when it comes to Pakistan, to what extent do you feel has our industry done just that?
I feel like there's a few very genuine, very authentic personnel coming forward and taking this leap of faith, because it's not an easy one. When it comes to, any design house or any basically organization trying to become sustainable, there's a big cost to be incurred. There's a lot of things that have to be taken away, a lot of perks that have to be taken away. And I feel like a few genuine people have come forward and they're doing that, but still Pakistan has a very long way to go. I
But when it
understand.
comes to sustainability, it might be considered to be a marketing gimmick as opposed to, inculcating it in the entire manufacturing, the production process.
Definitely. So internationally, we see this happening. It has become just a gimmick. It's just, another line on the label that this is sustainable. And actually, the practices are not that way. I feel like it's all just a facade at the end of the day. It's just another line on the label. But a lot of the companies are trying to make, great leaps towards taking and making Pakistan sustainable.
I think there needs to be greater acceptability of it, both in the designers as well as in the consumers. I'll come to you, Saira. Here, what we must talk about is the very popular Pakistan Fashion Weeks, as we have seen them evolve over a period of time. So, world over, because the show has an international viewership, we have seen, more particularly in countries like the US, whenever Fashion Weeks happen there is this particular aim of promoting younger designers, providing them with some kind of a mentorship, or even for that matter, financially supporting them as well. But when it comes to Pakistan in comparison, because I do know you have that benefit of covering so many weeks since a very long time, how do you see that happening? Do you feel that at some level our Pakistani fashion weeks, they have been able to give cover to younger designers to help them promote their innovative designs?
Thank you for your question, Fatma. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's just go back in time. I believe that 10 to 15 years ago, there was a very strong monopoly of a few designers that were in the market all over Pakistan. Regardless of prices and regardless of the quality and everything, they knew that they had to have a very strong monopoly, and people are just going to throng the stores and somehow compromise on the affordability reach also. But now I believe that of late there has been a surge in the market. I mean, it really amazes me that now there is a budding new designer at every nook and corner of the city, be it Lahore, Karachi or Islamabad. These are the young faces. They are focusing on affordability also.
Right.
It's so easy. I mean, for a person like me, I mean, even if I was not a journalist and if I was swiping over my phone on Instagram, I would see a kurta that I would really like. Then I would be thinking to myself, I won't be able to afford it, because obviously the market is now saturated with expensive clothes.
True.
But then after a while, when I would come back to that outfit, it would be costing like 2,000 or 3,000, and I'd be very, I'll be really pleasantly surprised.
Of course, that is a very important consideration. And then again, we see over a period of time, at least to some extent, slowly and gradually, all these fashion weeks, they do give some space to the younger designers as well. I do particularly remember attending one of them, which focused on, promoting rising talent.
I feel that these new faces, they are now able to have a stronghold in the market. Now people, housewives and people who are not really related to fashion, they are sitting home and they are now their strong clientele. Fashion weeks, I believe, are somehow to be blamed for this, like the organizers, because they are focusing on those people who can sort of give them the participation fees. And these are only the really big, strong people who have been in the market for years and years, who can sort of contribute to that in influx and help them mint the
Right.
wealth and everything.
Of course, it goes without saying that the fashion weeks do come with their own set of criticism, but I think the thing which must be appreciated is also the fact that at least at some level, they give designers, maybe to a lesser extent younger designers, that chance to exhibit their talent too. Amar, would you agree with what I'm saying here? Because you also have had that benefit of covering so many weeks, fashion weeks over the years.
Okay, so I have to agree with Saira, and we, as fellow journalists, we have supported a lot of younger designers and new talent. We were just together at one of the fashion weeks in Karachi, and I was so amazed and so happy to see some of the young designers who showcased at one of the fashion weeks that we just attended.
Right.
And the kind of work that they and so unapologetically they were just showcasing their talent.
Right.
I mean, 2 or 3 designers I think they can easily compete in international fashion weeks. The only problem is that we have to encourage them, we have to support them, whether it's on a personal level, on a media level, or it's the fashion council that needs to
Of
support
course.
them. But somebody really needs to support and encourage them, and it should not be a battle of ego for older designers or senior designers. They should make path for younger people and younger designers
That's
to
so true.
showcase,
They
because
shouldn't
they
feel
have
competitive
evolved,
enough.
they have new ideas, they have fresh ideas. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's really significant that they come in the mainstream line of fashion.
Right, and slowly and steadily we are getting there. But when we talk about your career as a wardrobe stylist, I do understand that is something which is very prominent about you too.
Image consultancy,
Yeah, image
yes.
consultancy as well,
Yes.
in addition to that. So when we talk about wardrobe styling, and that too doing it within a budgetary constraint, something which she indirectly pointed towards as well. How do you propose can people, more particularly younger people, especially college girls or teenagers, do just that, who might want to look good, who might want to stay abreast with the latest fashion trends, but they might have a very limited budget to do so?
Fatma, I feel that the younger crowd is not just very tempted, but I think they are much smarter than what we were back in the day. And I think the high street fashion brands that have opened in Pakistan, they are also producing such huge variety. But other than that, so saying that, I think they can always mix and match. One outfit in a wardrobe should not be restricted to wearing just once. They can always, pair their denim jacket or denim a skirt with another pair of, heels or different tops or sweater. So there is so much variation in a wardrobe that they can, instead of just investing in one outfit and just taking it out once, they can always mix and match. And I just feel that the younger generation is now so aware of fashion and the styles, and thanks to social media and
Exactly.
Instagram, that they really know how to put everything
Together, intelligently,
So
basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
right.
I think they're quite fashion conscious and quite aware.
Right.
And I'm very happy to see. I mean, whenever I go out and I see all these younger crowd at a concert or any fair, they really know how to put things together. I mean,
Right.
back in the day, we also didn't have much option. I mean, I see a lot of people and younger crowd, Gen Z, wearing Western outfits. Back in the day, if anybody would travel, they would only get,
That's
a
so
certain 2-3 pair of, colored jeans or pants or trousers or jackets. But now, I mean, the society and everything has really changed.
Changed,
And
basically.
it's very easy for them to just, create something really fashionable.
Right. It all goes back to the basics. If you have your basics sorted out, if you know how to accessorize well, if you know how to carry yourself with confidence, I'll come to you
course.
in that regard. I think here we must also talk about this entire concept of thrift fashion, and that is something that you're very
Certainly.
actively advocating for and also promoting, which I
Yes.
found very interesting, especially in the context of this particular show. So fashion, as we all understand, is expected to be new, it is expected to be very cool. And thrift fashion is that one concept which runs contrary to that.
Yes.
So how do you, in your right of being both a fashion designer and influencer, keep up with this concept?
I just love what Amber said, that, the youth has really learned how to actually work around their problems. And then you have also mentioned, Fatma, yourself, that there's this inner confidence that is starting to stem in people. And that, I feel like that is the major thing that has allowed people to actually remove the stigma from using pre-loved products, from using thrifted products, and actually come towards it, because at the end of the day, you know, you don't want so much landfill to be, you know, coming together just because of this one fashion industry.
True.
You need to be able to recycle, you need to be able to reuse, you need to teach people that, you know, you yourself are worthy enough. Does not matter what budget you have, does not matter what your affordability is. What matters is how you carry yourself.
True.
You can learn to, like she said, you can learn to mix and match things. Okay, you got a new pair of jeans, but what about the top? It's okay to thrift it. Go out there, look for things. Everything, it's not even just about going on social media and finding stuff. You step out of your house, there's an entire market. You can just, you know, sift through it and find stuff that you need and thrift and actually make things work for yourself.
Although I do
And
feel here, if I may just add here, Maham, you are promoting a very positive concept,
I
especially
understand.
for people with, you know, limited resources. But then the thing is that as a society, have we been able to embrace that very thing?
Not
because
entirely.
the thing is now, people, when they looked at thrifting, they might judge people who might be actively indulging in it. Saira, how would you comment on this particular aspect? Because, of course, you would have your own opinion in this regard too, that why do you feel as a society we've not been able to fully accept it, something that which she said in Europe is more acceptable. In US, we have such known thrift shops, so to speak. So why not in Pakistan?
I would like to disagree here a bit. I feel that these high street brands that Amba was talking about, now there is a something for everyone approach out there. And I feel that people who are on a budget, people who, even people with very lavish coffers, they both can be on the same page and both can just throng the stores. And because now the designers are coming up with a something for everyone approach. So I think it's easily accessible out there.
Right. But in addition to that, here another question that I would want to put to you would be the fact we have seen world over, you know, fashion industries very proactively seeking to be more inclusive, proactively seeking to be diverse. How do you, as a fashion journalist, more particularly lifestyle journalist, would analyze that trend to be in Pakistan? Have we overall been able to embrace different body types, different body sizes?
Well, Fatma, yes and no. I feel that for a person like me also, I know that I am not a particular body status, right? I mean, not freshly off the ramp. So whenever I go to a store and I have to select something for myself, I believe that there are some stores which would offer only 2 sizes. Now that would be very unfair, because how can a Punjabi woman just conform herself into 2 sizes? But then there are stores also that they have sizes from 8 to 16 also. So if they are offering sizes from 8 to 16, people who are in a slender frame, then 8 or a bigger size than 16, now they are able to put their complaint out.
In this regard, we've also seen designers very proactively reaching out to not conventionally beautiful women that way as well. Women who
Because
are
I feel
dark
that
skinned, women who might
yes.
not be very slender that way. And
Yeah,
they have
true.
been part of their very successful modeling campaigns that way too. So I think this is a positive that we do need to highlight. But in terms of diversity, for example, in terms of including maybe the trans community in Pakistan's fashion industry, we did see a few years back this very famous transgender, Kami Sid. She did
Yes.
walk the ramp that way as well.
Absolutely.
So in that way, do you feel that Pakistan's fashion industry has been inclusive of different stratas of the Pakistani society?
I was just coming to that, Fatma. I believe that over the years there has also now been an awareness and a shift in the standards of beauty that they are. I mean, 10 to 15 years ago or even 20 years ago, there was, before the explosion of social media, there was a set specific standard of beauty that, okay, a beautiful girl only has to look really thin, she needs to have those big eyes, long hair and very chiseled features out there. Those were the, without naming a few, I would just say that those were the models that were strutting the ramp and we got to see them on the faces of newspaper editorials and fashion magazines.
Right.
But now, with the explosion of social media on scene, the Instagram models, the influencers, I mean, I am really in support of that, because now they are projecting the beauty standard of the girl next door.
That's very
So
true.
any girl, any 12 or 13-year-old girl who is now growing up to see these faces, now she can really feel herself feeling beautiful.
Right.
She knows that she does not need to have those specific chiseled features.
Right. She doesn't need to conform to certain beauty
or
ideals.
really thin in order to be called beautiful.
Right, Saira, your point is noted, on which I'll come to you, Ms. Amber, and I would want you to add to this further. So, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we have seen over a period of time, dark-skinned models have made it to cover magazines, basically that way. And this is perhaps something that was unheard of maybe a decade ago. So, overall, as a fashion editor, as a fashion journalist, how would you analyze this trend? Do you not feel making these little tweaks here and there that is giving out that message that really Pakistan's fashion scene has become more diverse, more inclusive?
Not just diverse, but I feel that it is now accepting, everything with an open arm. Whether it's a dark skin color model, whether it's a plus size model, whether it's transgender being included in a campaign. It's happening, and it has been happening very lately in US. I mean, initially, yes, there was a discrimination, taking a dark skin model, for instance, Naomi Campbell or Tyra
Banks.
Tyra Banks. They were the only Victoria's Secret popular models, but none other. And now you see that it's the equal number. If there's a fair skinned girl in a campaign, there has to be a dark skin or brown skin.
Right.
So I think Pakistan, I'm really happy that we are accepting all kinds of skin color, skin tone, body shape, and also I feel that people in general, they want to relate to these campaigns.
Of course, that's very true. And even in the dramas, Amber, you see now over a period of time, we've seen more relatable people out there, people who do not conform to the ideal beauty standards.
Of course, because you have to relate to the person on the screen or in a magazine, and only then, of course, if you talk about from the point of a design house or a fashion designer, they are able to sell it.
Right.
If you are only selling for beautiful girls, what about the
everybody's
rest
going to
of
buy it.
99% people?
So overall, when we do talk about the relationship between fashion and society, fashion scene or the fashion industry of any country is actually a reflection of its socio-cultural values. And then on the converse, we also see that the society actually dictates the most notable or the prominent fashion trends too. So how would you explain this relationship between fashion and society from how you see it?
Okay, so sometimes when I see local award functions and I see our actresses or models, I see them wearing gowns. Initially, I think it was a breath of fresh air. But then whenever you see an actress wearing a more traditional outfit, like a sari or maybe anarkali, she kind of was accepted more, or she would make more headlines or, on social media or in magazines or newspapers, rather than an actress who was wearing probably an off-shoulder gown, because obviously that's something we haven't really accepted, that kind of Western. I mean, yes, in a daily wear, if you go to an office or you are at at a restaurant or a concert, you see people wearing very Western clothes in a very casual manner. But when it comes to such platforms, I feel that we still have a long way to go, and I don't think there's any shame in it, because I like that we portray our tradition in fashion. And likewise, how you said that society also impacts the fashion. So
That's
obviously saying that society and fashion goes hand in hand.
Right?
Yes.
And this is something which is equally true when we talk about this from a local perspective. But what about the local things? Like, for example, I do remember a few designers actually dedicating their entire collection to the cause of mental health. And then we have had designers who've actively advocated for child marriages on the ramp as well. So how would you analyze that trend?
I would say I'm obviously particularly not too fond of it. Some designers are taking it well, some are not taking it too well. But at the end of the day, I feel like the designers have really made an effort to make sure that, they pick up the social issues that are ongoing and try to highlight them in a way that they can create awareness and more acceptability in people towards the way to, problem solve those issues.
Right, and also to highlight them. Saira, would you agree with what she's saying? Because I, at least as an objective person, would want to commend these designers. You must be remembering a few years ago, rape survivor was actually made to walk the ramp that way as
Yeah,
well.
of course,
So
and
that does give out a very good message in terms of empowering women who have been victims of
And
violence
I
too.
think, if I'm not wrong, Musarrat Misbah also.
Right, exactly.
yes.
The acid,
Acid
women
victims.
who have been attacked by
and
acid.
I think she walked the ramp.
She walked the
One
ramp
of
as
the-
well.
Yeah.
So, do you not feel as a woman yourself that these are important things? These little gestures in themselves would advocate for gender equality. They had this sale where they were making people wear, more particularly girls, shirts which actually exhibited the cause of environment, the need for there to be climate awareness. So, do you not feel that when it comes to fashion being that catalyst for social change, it does have that potential to actually, mobilize on this potential of its own?
Fatma, I do get what you're saying. I think Amber has answered it really well, very profoundly, but I agree with Maham more. Some designers, when they have a specific cause in mind and they know what they have to put out there for the people to see, and they know that a particular fashion week is now being televised, I know millions of people
Precisely.
would be watching it, if not thousands, right? Their focus and their shift somehow moves towards just exhibiting that cause, and the clothes that they are displaying, it takes a backseat, right? So somehow I feel that the balance is lost out there.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to project a social cause like child marriages, because I've seen a very famous designer
Right.
promoting or trying to create sort of awareness
Awareness on
against
child
child
marriage,
marriage or rape or several other issues, then it would just look like a very dramatic scene on the ramp rather than the clothes speaking for itself. I'll give you a small example. Now, I also agree with what Amber said about ball gowns and about that we see on stage. I mean, when you talk about Pakistani trends and fashion, I believe that it is our duty to promote Pakistani culture, fashion and everything else. Just a couple of weeks earlier, we were attending a fashion week by the Trade and the Development Authority. And the main focus of it was that we need to, there was a lot of foreign clientele, there were a lot of foreign buyers, and they had flown all the way here to Pakistan because we as a country needed to promote Pakistani fashion.
True.
But whatever that we saw on the ramp, they were Western attire. Now, why would so many foreign buyers come here to Pakistan just to see a rehash of what they are already seeing in their own home country?
Agreed.
Right?
They would want to see something which is more traditional, which is a better
Yes.
reflection of our traditional and true cultural heritage
absolutely.
that way. Right.
Yeah. I feel that among the 15 or 16 designers that showcased on a span of 2 days, only 2 or 3 got the concept of it. Only 2 or 3. Because we could see only 2 or 3 who were sort of experimenting and putting out their articles or pieces of art that look beautiful with shalwar, with all the traditional, attire that we have.
So the ones which were not conforming with these,
Yeah.
norms, they were the ones which stood out. So perhaps to look at what you said from a different
Yeah,
perspective would
yeah.
be that, if designers do want to, advocate for social causes, perhaps they can make it their USP in a very intelligent
Definitely.
manner, because
Yes,
that is what will set them apart from the
but
other designers.
Fatma, you see, I think it's not entirely the designer's fault. I feel that the organizers of the fashion week,
Right.
they need to step up their focus on just minting the money, and they need to promote something which would tell all of those designers that there is a criteria, there is an eligibility
Right.
criteria that plagiarism will not be allowed, even if you are paying millions, to be a part of the show. Okay, so now we're not focusing on, and also that you need to come up with new fashion trends, right? Something that people have not seen before, and also you need to focus on Pakistani fashion.
Right. There are
rather
so
than
many
showing
factors which come
off-shoulder
into play.
gowns
That
and
was just a
everything.
suggestion. Amber, I'll come to you. Here I would want you to comment on this very particular aspect which we often come across. Now, a lot of times we see women more particularly, they're of a certain age, they are not dressing up appropriately. There's this issue of age appropriateness in our society, so to speak. Might not feel wearing very bold colors or certain kind of cuts. So as a stylist, this is that one notion which should find its way in anybody's styling, or, is age just a number when it comes to fashion?
Fatma, I feel that sometimes we don't own our roots or our tradition, and we follow fashion trends very blindly, and we forget where we come from, what suits us, there are so many factors that really affect the way we carry ourselves, the way we style our ensemble. And we really have to come out of that complex of following the fashion trends, but we really need to educate ourselves and be more aware of our body and own it also. I mean, there is no shame if you are not of a particular color, size, body shape. You can still look beautiful, you can still look stunning.
But in addition to that, when you do talk about social media, it does inevitably place a lot of pressure onto people, because it does in ways more than one de-define, their perceptions of beauty, what should be fashion, what should not be fashion. So how would you comment on that?
I think it just leaves a very strong impression, especially on younger girls. But that's what I feel that, different institutions should also come in place in terms of just telling them that this should be just part of your grooming session, or this is something where you can just enhance your beauty, not just get totally handicapped by social media. So there's a very fine line
that you need to
yes.
know. That's very right, and I think that is something that you should be vested with. You shouldn't let anybody else do just that, because you see, when we talk about this here, your relevance is very important. I think influencers to some extent have blurred that line. We can't ignore the fact that the influencers, they are doing good work, they are promoting brands, and they are doing so much more than what might be expected from them. But on the other side, there are issues being raised regarding their credibility too. 100%. A lot of times we see influencers endorsing campaigns and doing things for which they are merely paid. So how do you at the end of the day actually make that distinction? An influencer that you are following is actually and very honestly guiding you about things that your followers would want to be engaged with.
I want to touch the point about the boom of social media and the concept of overconsumption that it led to, that people just wanted newer and better things and just had new trends coming out, and people just wanted to join in just to fit in, and people would just buy new things. And you order something like a very tiny sort of a thing off of an online website, but when you receive it, it's packaged in layers and layers of packaging, because the whole concept of unboxing a product apparently has become much more of a thing than
it's
the product.
Very much hyped.
Yeah, the product actually that you've actually bought, because you just want to consume. And also because of the concept of overconsumption, a lot of influencers have just lost sight of the fact that it's not just a dress that you're going to be prancing around in and filming, a styling video for your consumer, for your viewers to see. You need to have some sort of a value behind promoting a product. You need to have some sort of an authenticity for why you're even working with a certain designer or a certain organization.
That's very rightly put by yourself, Maham. On which I'll come to you, Saira, and I would want you to add to this further. So do you feel over a period of time, given that influencer marketing has been soaring high, has that in any way impacted the role of fashion journalists like yourself? Has that kind of diminished because influencer marketing has become so popular now?
Fatma, you just mentioned something about regulations being in place a short while ago. I completely agree with it. Me being a fashion journalist for 14, 15 years now, even now when I get invited to an event, considering the explosion of social media of late, they invite me as an influencer slash content creator slash, and in the end there's the word journalist out there.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's something that I'm ashamed of. I'm being called an influencer. Oh my God, I don't want to be called one. No, it's nothing like that. But the thing is that there is a big difference between a journalist and influencer.
Of course.
100%.
I feel like these are two different fields altogether. It's like you mention a doctor and then you mention a nurse. There's a big difference, right? I'm not trying to downplay any profession when I say it, because now I see influencers doing so much more work than journalists are doing these days. But being a journalist, there are regulations in place. Like you just mentioned, I really like this word, because whatever I learned about journalism has been on job.
True.
There is a certain hierarchy and there are certain departments that first, if I file a story, it's not going to come out in the paper the very next day. I mean, as opposed to a content creator or an influencer, when they are taking pictures and videos, they just have to post them and that's it. There is no one going to be out there to fact check.
Right,
or
which is
to-
why I actually said that there should be regulation of them, basically.
There is no one out there
Exactly.
who is going to fact check their content, who is going to proofread their content, there is going to be research team out there who's going to ensure that whatever the influencer is saying, is that true or not?
True.
But being a journalist, we have to pass through these loops of fire,
Of
like
course,
I would
basically.
say.
Right, Saira, point is noted. On which I'll come towards you, Amber, and moving towards the end of the show. So my last question to you would be, to wrap up today's show, what are the trends you feel that have been on your radar, at least in the year 2024, and what are the prominent fashion trends that you would want to look forward to in the year 2025?
I love how all our designers have come up with a new collection, which obviously emphasized on modern and contemporary twist, but keeping the tradition and timeless elegance in place. Because going back to your roots, going back to your tradition, I really appreciate that.
Right.
One thing that I hope dies down is actress and actors coming up with their fashion line, because sometimes I feel that they don't have that fashion sense that
I
the
get that.
designer or the design houses or the brands have. So I think I'm not all for that.
Right.
Well, if there is somebody who has a strong fashion sense and they belong to the entertainment industry, yes, they could. But I really hope that it's the commercial aspect and the business aspect of fashion. There's a very fine line, and you should be able to differentiate.
That's very right.
Because there is no compromise on fashion.
I would agree with you 100% on that. And in this regard as well, the fact that we now see every other person
Being a
becoming a
fashion
fashion
designer.
designer. This is something
Exactly.
that I was earlier discussing with her. You
Yes.
need to have proper
I mean,
education.
I
in it.
appreciate people or women who are at home and they don't have the time or the resources to go out and do a full-time job. If they have the sense of creating something out of their homes with a tailor, I don't have a problem with that. But if you're doing on such a huge scale and you're trying to impact through your fashion sense, which is not that strong to the society, I mean, then
Of
you
course,
should
that's
really
something that you do need to revisit and reconsider. I'll come towards you, and my last question to you would be, criticism which is often levied on luxury brands is the fact they're too expensive. So how do you as a fashion designer then propose, can we strike that ideal balance between ensuring luxury brands, for one, they are not only more wearable, they are more affordable, but at the same time, this is done in a manner which doesn't adversely impact their style or quality?
So affordability has become such a great underlying topic. Even right now, today in our segment, we've discussed affordability a numerous amount of times. And luxury brands have taken note of that, and they've started coming out with diffusion lines that are more affordable. But what actually has changed the whole, vibe is the fact that there are people that have taken control in their own hands. There are people and designers who have come up with very good, very affordable lines with a lot of value for money, and I would like to call myself one of those people. I advocated through and through. I advocate for wearing very reasonably priced products and carrying it in a way that it is luxury. You have basically redefined what luxury actually means. It's not the price tag. It's the fact that you are actually worth wearing.
Right,
it.
Maham. On which I'll come towards you, Saira, and before we conclude today's show. So my last question to you would be that overall, wrapping up today's conversation, what would your tips be to people out there, more particularly the audience who are watching today's show, that when it comes to styling, what are the things that they need to look out for? Yes, fashion trends come and go, and there might be some people out there who might not be very comfortable following, the fashion trends as they are. But style is something which remains with you forever. So how do you propose, can they style themselves better, and who perhaps are the people that they can look up to in this regard?
Well, Fatma, if you want me to take some names, I would say that there is a very kind of a misunderstanding out there. People think that that girls, women or men only related to the fashion industry can look fashionable because they know what's going on, they know how to dress up, they know how to accessorize and everything. And sometimes when I'm sitting somewhere, I'm waiting for my friends to arrive and they would be the first ones in, the kind of grooming and the kind of how they have dressed themselves, I would be in for a very pleasant surprise. Because me belonging from the fashion industry and they belonging from banking or technology or even, whatever, all walks of life, I am going to be the one very impressed by how they are dressed.
True.
To answer the latter part of your question, I really liked how Amber she ended her answer. She said there should be no compromise on fashion.
100%.
And I think that is true. But if you want me to take some names, I feel that if I look at the politics sphere, and now I'm not just talking about music or fashion, because these are the people who get named a lot.
True.
These are the people who already are the icons of fashion. So I would say that I would try to delve out a bit, and I would just say that I really like how Maryam Nawaz dresses herself. I mean,
Definitely.
of late, she has now become an icon. And whenever I look at some of her, in fact, all the time when she is dressed to the nines, I mean, from the way that she's styling her dupatta to what she's
very
wearing in
graceful.
her feet. Yeah. Hina Rabbani Kar, I've always been
Of
a
course.
very big fan of hers. And at the top of my head, I can only think of these two right now.
Right, and then if you go back in history, you must be remembering that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was that one politician
Oh,
who actually
definitely.
endorsed that
The
trend of shalwar
suaveness
kameez as
and
well,
yes,
basically.
yeah.
Right. On which note, I would like to conclude today's show. Thank you so much, Miss Amber.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Maham. Thank you so
Thank
much, Miss
you.
Saira, for your time
Thank
today.
you.
Well, to conclude today's show, we generally spoke about fashion and how does fashion generally impact the society at large. In this regard, we not only spoke about the most prominent trends, but we also spoke about, how fashion trends at a very basic level then impact the society and, of course, its value system by that virtue too. In this regard, what is very important to then highlight is the fact that, whereas at one point overall we do appreciate the fact that Pakistan's fashion industry has become more diverse, it has become more inclusive and definitely more socially cognizant and socially aware too. What we do need to actively work upon and of course prioritize in that regard is the fact that we need to proactively work towards embracing sustainability. That is definitely the need of the hour, and this is something which must then not only ideally stem from fashion designers per se, this is something which should then actually be sought after by consumers by that yardstick too. Thank you for watching The Society. Until next time, take care and Allah Hafiz.